Hey, Singrash from the Levels here with an achievement walkthrough for Aery, Titans of the Future. Game is developed and published by EpiXR Games, released on July 4, 2025 for the price of $11.99 US. And thanks to EpiXR for providing us with the review code. So this is Aery. If you played them all, this is the same game. You start a level, you fly around as a bird. You collect these leaves, I don't know what you call them. You collect 25 of them in each level, and there's a counter at the bottom right. And once you collect 25, you move on to the next level. There's 10 levels, you beat 10 levels, and that's your 1000 gamer score. It should take you like 40 to 50 minutes, depend how fast you find these things, but there's, they're spaced quite wide apart, and the bird doesn't fly all that fast, so it does take some time, but it is a very relaxing, chill completion. So if you're into that, I guess this game is for you. Alright, so don't really have much to say. The gameplay is very basic, the video speaks for itself. Enjoy the rest of this video. Thank you for watching. Like if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Share with your friend who enjoys achievement games. We have a lot of guys on our channel. And comment. I love reading your comments. I'm Sangrias, and I'll be back with more videos soon.
Onlookers gasped as the skies above the city turned clear and blue, free of the usual haze. These robotic giants worked silently, their efficiency unmatched as they restored dilapidated buildings. A robot stationed itself at a crumbling bridge, reinforcing its structure with metal beams in minutes. Public transport systems received upgrades as sleek new train cars emerged, guided by robotic hands onto pristine tracks. Buses were modified with renewable energy systems, allowing them to run without emitting pollution. The robots worked tirelessly, their steel arms sweeping away litter and debris from every corner. Parks once overgrown and abandoned were restored. The robots planting trees and creating lush green spaces. Rivers that once ran brown with pollution now sparkled clear as robots cleaned and purified the water. On rooftops, robots installed solar panels, providing free, renewable energy to homes and businesses. People emerged from their hiding places, watching in awe as the robots continued their silent work. Children stared wide-eyed as the robots painted vibrant murals on gray concrete walls, brightening the city. In the middle of the square, a robot created a fountain with crystal clear water flowing for all to enjoy. Streetlights repaired and repowered, cast a gentle glow, lighting up roads and walkways at night. As the robots worked, a sense of peace spread through the city, transforming fear into wonder. In the final act, the robots placed a large glowing sphere in the city center, humming with mysterious energy. Then, just as suddenly as they had arrived, the robots left, ascending into the sky in unison. The city below was left transformed, its people marveling at the clean, orderly, and revitalized world.
In a quiet rural town, farmers woke one morning to find giant robots standing in their fields. The robots' metallic frames glistened under the early morning sun, and farmers watched with both awe and suspicion. gentle, precise movements, the robots began examining the soil, their sensors whirring soft. One robot extended a mechanical arm and released a mist over the land, rejuvenating the soil with nutrients. Farmers stared, mouths agape, as patches of their dry, cracked fields transformed into fertile ground. The robots worked swiftly, moving from field to field, assessing the quality of the soil and water supply. They set up irrigation systems, distributing water in carefully measured amounts to drought-stricken areas. Pipes and pumps were installed seamlessly, delivering water directly to the roots of thirsty crops. As days passed, plants that had been struggling in dry soil started to grow lush and green. The robots introduced new seeds, resilient to pests and adaptable to the local climate. Farmers watched in amazement as fields once barren now flourished with life and colour. The robots' advanced tech analysed weather patterns, adjusting water and nutrients based on predictions. They planted cover crops to protect the soil and introduced natural pest repellents, all eco-friendly. Insects and birds, no longer disturbed by harsh pesticides, return to the fields, helping with pollination. The robots even set up solar panels, using clean energy to power their operations sustainably. As harvest season approached, the robots carefully picked each crop, leaving none wasted or damaged. Record yields as their barns filled with healthy, abundant food. Grain, fruits and vegetables overflowed in baskets and bins, more than they had ever seen before. With their soil now healthier than ever, farmers knew they could keep growing for years to come. The robots communicated farming insights directly to the farmers, sharing knowledge of eco-friendly practices. Farmers, once wary, began to see the robots as trusted partners in cultivating their land. A town once struggling was now flourishing, with plenty to eat and more to share. As the season ended, the robots gathered their work done, leaving a transformed landscape behind. The farmers watched as the robots ascended into the sky, grateful for the help they'd received. With their fields thriving, they felt hopeful for the future, their rural home now a beacon of sustainable.
In a quiet village near a vast jungle, people were puzzled when they noticed enormous robots entering the forest. The metallic giants moved carefully, scanning the ground and towering trees with their bright blue light. At first, the villagers were wary, watching from a distance as the machines worked. Instead of tearing down trees, the robots gently planted new saplings in deforested areas. Each robot moved with precision, carefully spacing the young trees to give them room to grow. They installed protective barriers around the saplings, shielding them from hunger. By the riverbanks, other robots filtered water, removing pollution and waste from the streams. The murky waters soon ran clear, and villagers watched as fish returned, swimming in the fresh, clean rivers. Birds, seeing the restored water sources, gathered by the banks, chirping and splashing. As the days passed, animals that had once left the area began to return. Villagers saw deer grazing nearby, their coats glossy from the fresh, lush vegetation. Monkeys swung through the newly grown trees, and vibrant birds filled the skies with color. The robots worked tirelessly, creating small ponds that served as fresh watering holes for animals. They planted native flowers, drawing bees and butterflies back to the forest. Every corner of the forest started to flourish as plants and animals thrived together. The robots used advanced sensors to plant tree species that would support diverse wildlife habitats. With careful coordination, they built little shelters from natural materials, perfect for smaller creatures. The villagers were amazed, seeing the barren, deforested patches turn green and full of life again. People who had once feared the robots now followed them, eager to see their next restoration project. As the weeks went on, entire sections of the jungle looked untouched by human hands. Massive trees grew tall and strong, their canopies providing shade and protection for creatures below. Streams ran clear, rivers sparkled, and the forest hummed with life from dawn until dusk. The villagers couldn't believe how quickly the robots transformed their land into a vibrant ecosystem. When the forest finally reached a balanced, thriving state, the robots gathered and left us. The people marveled at the revitalized jungle, grateful for the silent guardians who had restored their home.
Early one morning, fishermen along the coast noticed strange, towering robots move. These massive machines, sleek and metallic, carefully waded into the ocean, their limbs steady against the waves. At first, the fishermen watched with hesitation, unsure of the robots' purpose but soon they realized the robots were gathering plastic, pulling waste from the sea and With every scoop, the water became a little clearer, and the robots continued without pause. Other robots began building barriers along the coast, creating sturdy walls. Each barrier was made of durable, eco-friendly materials designed to withstand. The robots worked with precision, positioning the barriers carefully to protect coastal towns from flooding. As the days passed, the fishermen noticed the difference in the water. It was cleaner, with fewer plastics drifting by. The seabed, once littered with trash, now sparkled as the robots swept it clean. Small fish began returning, swimming in schools near the shores that were once too polluted to sustain them. Coral reefs, once struggling, were free from debris, and colors returned to the With every trip out to sea, fishermen caught glimpses of new marine life, from starfish to curious dolphins. Sea turtles, which had been scarce, returned to nest on the now pristine beaches. The robots also created artificial reefs, placing structures in the water to serve as habitats for marine. These new reefs quickly attracted fish, becoming bustling underwater homes for countless species. The fishermen were amazed at the speed of the transformation, marveling at the robots' silent dedication. Shorebirds, too, returned, flocking to the revitalized coastline in search of fish. Families began visiting the beaches again, enjoying the clean sands. Each day, the robots continued their work, removing the last traces of pollution. Their towering frames glistened in the sunlight. The fishermen's nets grew fuller. As fish populations rose in the Children watched the robots from the beach, laughing disappointing as they moved. With the coastline secured and the oceans cleared, the robots finally departed, leaving the fishermen, now blessed with an abundance of marine life, thank the silent giants for giving their ocean.
In the heart of an arid desert, towering robots appeared under the blazing sun, their metal exteriors gleaming. Equipped with solar panels, they absorbed sunlight, converting it into energy to fuel their operations. People from nearby villages gathered at a distance, curious yet cautious about the machines. The robots drilled deep into the ground, searching for traces of water hidden beneath the desert sands. To everyone's surprise, they pumped water up to the surface, filling shallow basins they had constructed. As the basins filled, the robots planted saplings along the edges, creating a ring of green around each water source. Sun-powered sprinklers began to spray a fine mist over the young plants, keeping them hydrated. Slowly, grasses and shrubs took root, stretching across the once barren land in delicate green patches. Desert animals, thirsty and curious, started to approach the oases, drawn by the scent of fresh water. Birds flew down to drink from the pools, colorful feathers, a bright contrast against the sand. As more water was pumped, the robots planted hardy desert trees, providing shade for creatures and travelers. People marveled at the transformation, watching as cacti, flowers, and palms grew in the once barren desert. Streams formed, winding through the sand and creating new pathways for animals to follow. Children laughed as they watched rabbits, gazelles, and desert foxes drink from the oasis pools. With the water systems in place, each oasis became a small ecosystem full of life and energy. The robots planted tall grasses, which rustled in the wind, creating a soothing sound across the landscape. Insects and small creatures, drawn by the plants and water, made homes in the sandy soil. Birds began to build nests in the growing trees, filling the oases with the sounds of chirping and fluttering wings. Word of the desert oases spread. People from far-off towns came to witness the miracle. The robots continued, moving further into the desert to create even more oases, each one a haven of green. As they worked, they monitored the ecosystems, ensuring each oasis stayed balanced and self-sustaining. People marveled at the way the robots harnessed the sun's power to bring life to the arid wasteland. Every sunrise revealed new growth, more plants reaching toward the light. The desert transformed. The once empty sands now boasted patches of green and blue, with jewels scattered across the dunes. And as the robots moved on to new projects, the desert oases remained, thriving reminders of nature and
In a remote, icy mountain range, massive robots appeared, their frames covered in frost as they moved through the snow. The people living in the small nearby village watched in awe, wondering what these machines were doing so far up in the frozen peak. With precision, the robots used their sensors to analyze snow buildup, scanning for signs of potential avalanches. When they detected unstable snow layers, they released gentle bursts of heat to safely melt dangerous accumulations. Villagers breathed a sigh of relief, knowing the risk of avalanches was being managed by these silent giants. Some robots climbed up the cliffs, using sturdy arms to anchor sections that threatened to break away. Each robot worked tirelessly, inserting metal stakes and supports into loose rock to prevent it from tumbling down the mountain. They mapped out the safest paths, marking trails with beacons for hikers and climbers who ventured into the icy terrain. On steep, treacherous slopes, the robots installed warning systems that activated in case of snow shifts or ice cracks. As the weeks passed, the villagers grew to trust the machines, grateful for the added safety in their daily lives. Adventurers who traveled to the region were delighted to find safer paths for exploring the rugged landscape. The robots mapped out intricate cave systems hidden beneath the glaciers, revealing routes no human had ever seen. Deep within these ice caves, they placed small lights to guide explorers, illuminating the breathtaking crystal walls. The robots even built small emergency shelters in hard-to-reach areas, stocked with basic supplies and heaters. Climbers marveled at the robots' skill and precision as they transformed treacherous routes into manageable paths. During the night, the robots scanned for weather patterns, warning villagers of potential storms with an early alert. Using specialized sensors, they identified weak points in glaciers, stabilizing sections that could collapse without warning. Mountain goats and other wildlife began to gather near the reinforced cliffs, instinctively trusting the safer terrain. As snowfall increased, the robots worked around the clock, clearing paths and reinforcing new snowdrifts. The village school children watched from a distance, amazed at how the robots braved the bitter cold to protect their home. Villagers noticed that with the robots' help, their homes and roads were safer, even during the harshest winters. Tourists and adventurers flocked to the area, eager to explore the safer paths that led to hidden wonders. The robots' presence brought new life to the village, with visitors marveling at the icy beauty now accessible to all. One final day, the robots placed a map of the entire mountain range at the village entrance, detailing all safe trails. With the cliffs stabilized and the avalanche risk controlled, the robots moved on, leaving the villagers safer and
One misty morning, villagers by the river watched in awe as towering robots arrived along the riverbanks. The robots with their gleaming metallic frames began moving slowly and deliberately, studying the water and the surrounding land. Using precise, gentle movements, they scooped trash from the water, removing bottles, plastic bags, and other waste. Each piece of debris was sorted and carefully placed in designated containers for recycling or safe disposal. As the robots worked, the water gradually cleared, revealing shimmering reflections in the sandy riverbed below. Small fish cautiously returned to the cleaner water, darting between the rocks with renewed energy. Along the shore, the robots placed clusters of aquatic plants, creating habitats where fish could feed and spawn. Birds perched along the newly restored banks, diving into the water to catch fish that hadn't been seen in years. Frogs and turtles made their way back, finding shelter and food in the revitalized ecosystem. The robots moved further upstream, clearing debris from hidden creeks and restoring natural channels. As they worked, they used advanced sensors to identify areas prone to flooding during heavy rains. To address this, they constructed levees and barriers, building flood control systems that blended with the landscape. They dug channels to redirect excess water, creating small basins to absorb rain during storms. Villagers watched in relief, knowing their homes were now protected from the devastating floods they had feared. To further stabilize the area, the robots planted native trees and grasses along the riverbanks. The roots of these plants held the soil in place, preventing erosion and keeping the water. Fish populations grew as the river flourished, with bass, trout, and smaller species now thriving. Along the lakeside, robots built sheltered coves, perfect nesting spots for birds, and habitats for amphibians. Children played by the water's edge, marveling at the fish and frogs that now shared the river with them. With the flood control systems in place, villagers could rest easy, even during the heaviest rains. As each season passed, the riverbanks transformed into lush landscapes of green and blue, teeming with life. Otters, beavers, and herons made their homes along the shore, adding to the diversity of the ecosystem. The robots continued monitoring the area, ensuring that water levels stayed balanced and habitats thrived. By the time they moved on, the river had become a safe, vibrant resource for the community and wildlife alike. Villagers waved goodbye to the robots, grateful for the restored river that would bring life and security for generations to come.
In the heart of a frozen, icy landscape, robots arrived, their metallic bodies gleaming against the snow. They trudged carefully through the snow, setting up research stations at key points across the barren tundra. The robots built shelters with advanced heating systems to withstand the relentless freezing temperatures. Inside these shelters, they installed equipment to measure wind speeds, temperature fluctuations, and ice thickness. Every day, the robots transmitted climate data to scientists around the world, highlighting the urgency of melting ice caps. Local wildlife, including seals and polar bears, curiously watched the robots, unbothered by their quiet presence. The robots used infrared sensors to detect movements, ensuring they never disturbed any creatures in their habitat. In areas where ice was thin, they placed warning markers to prevent animals from wandering into dangerous spots. To support endangered species, the robots created small shelters that provided warmth and protection from harsh winds. These shelters helped young animals survive brutal storms, giving them a safe place to rest and recover. Penguins huddled around the robots during severe weather, finding comfort in their gentle warmth. The robots even created small pools by breaking thin ice layers, offering fresh drinking water to passing animals. When monitoring equipment indicated signs of rapid melting, the robots immediately reinforced nearby ice. They used special materials to stabilize the ice, reducing the risk of sudden collapse and protecting animal habitats. Their sensors tracked migration patterns, relaying data on animal movements to scientists across the globe. As they gathered data, the robots identified specific areas where human intervention could help slow climate effects. This information was shared with local governments and environmental agencies, the robots created digital maps of glacier changes, documenting the retreat of ice and the rise of sea levels. These maps were essential for scientists studying climate impact and predicting future shifts in frozen regions. Local populations visited the robots, learning about their work. The robots showed locals how to set up solar-powered stations to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Each research station became a beacon of hope, drawing scientists, researchers, and environmentalists to once quiet frozen lands buzzed with activity, all working toward the same goal of preservation. As the robots continued their tasks, the region slowly adapted to support both life and research. The robots' work ensured that even in the harshest conditions, a future for these frozen landscapes was still possible.
In the open, rolling grasslands, robots appeared, their sleek bodies gliding quietly across the fields. Farmers and ranchers watched curiously as the robots spread out, each one carefully scanning the vast landscape. Equipped with sensors, the robots monitored soil health, noting areas that were overgrazed or in need of rest. They studied patterns in the grass growth, adjusting grazing areas to prevent damage from overuse. When livestock wandered too far, the robots gently guided them back to safe grazing zones. They set up rotational grazing schedules, allowing the grasslands to recover and grow back strong. Farmers noticed the difference quickly. Fields once overgrazed now began to sprout with lush, healthy grass. The robots also monitored water sources, ensuring ponds and streams were clean and accessible for the animals. At certain points, they installed small solar-powered pumps to draw water for areas facing drought. Wildlife like deer, antelope, and birds gathered around the refreshed water sources, thriving alongside the livestock. robots tracked biodiversity, noting which plants and animals were abundant and which needed support. They planted native grasses and shrubs in bare areas, creating a balanced habitat for all species. Pollinators returned, attracted by the diverse plant life, and flowers blossomed across the fields. Farmers were delighted to see how their lands transformed into vibrant ecosystems under the robots' guidance. The robots even protected young trees and plants from being trampled by marking boundaries for livestock. By restoring soil and vegetation, the robots made the land resilient against erosion and harsh weather. During storms, they placed barriers around vulnerable areas to prevent flooding and soil loss. Wildlife habitats grew healthier, with foxes, rabbits, and eagles making regular appearances in the fields. The robots continued to share data on plant diversity, soil composition, and wildlife patterns with nearby communities. Farmers gained a deeper understanding of their land's needs, using sustainable practices to maintain it. Grazing practices became more organized, with livestock rotated carefully between fields as seasons changed. Local families noticed their herds grew stronger, benefiting from the abundant, nutritious grass. As the grasslands flourished, people from nearby villages visited to learn from the robots' sustainable methods. Robots taught them how to protect the land and ensure a lasting balance between nature and livestock. With the robots' guidance, the grasslands remained green and vibrant, a thriving home for both animals and
Robots descended upon abandoned factories and industrial sites, their sensors scanning for contamination. Toxic soil was identified, mapped, and marked for decontamination by specialized cleaning units. Gigantic robotic arms dismantled rusting structures, sorting metal, concrete, and hazardous waste. Machines worked day and night, purging decades of pollution with precision and efficiency. Old materials were processed on site, converted into reusable resources. Once polluted soil was treated with robotic precision, removing toxins layer by layer. People gathered at the edges of these sites, watching the transformation in awe. Massive drones planted seeds, dispersing them evenly across the newly cleansed land. Water-purifying robots filtered streams and ponds nearby, ensuring ecosystems could thrive again. Gradually, the harsh chemical smells were replaced by the fresh scent of clean earth. Small green shoots began to appear where desolation once ruled. Community members were invited to plan the future of these reclaimed spaces. Robots worked with people, installing pathways and benches amidst the growing greenery. Once empty lots blossomed into vibrant community gardens filled with vegetables and flowers. Children played in the new parks while parents marveled at the vibrant transformation. Bees and butterflies returned, pollinating the plants as life surged back into the area. Murals were painted on nearby walls, depicting the journey from ruin to renewal. Local schools held tours, teaching students about environmental restoration and robotic technology. The once toxic land became a gathering place for festivals, markets, and celebrations. Solar panels powered community centers that rose alongside the garden. Watering systems were automated, ensuring every plant received the care it needed. People shared stories of how their neighborhoods had changed for the better. Wildlife cameras captured birds and small mammals returning to the area. Hope flourished as much as the greenery, inspiring more cleanup projects in nearby cities. Together, robots and humans proved that even the most damaged places could find them new.